26th of July 2018. It started like an ordinary Thursday.
He's saying, "Grandpa, please, you gotta come and help us. The fire's at the back door." I said, "I'm right by you, honey. Just hold on. Grandpa's coming."
Minutes later, people were trapped in a disaster America had never seen before.
The fire was that intense. The heat was that intense.
And the 2,700 Fahrenheit fire tornado was just getting started. That summer in California was extremely hot.
Tracking the dangerous heat wave.
A fire tornado. Damn, so them things is real? I always thought that was just something in the movie, or just a firepower from a cartoon character. Bro, them shits exist. What?
Heading throughout the state of California and really throughout the entire West.
In July, temperatures in the Sacramento Valley soared to 113 degrees Fahrenheit. By mid-month, the region had become a powder keg. Due to a prolonged drought, all the vegetation had dried out, covering the ground in a thick layer of dry brush and leaves. The smallest spark could turn the hills into a wasteland of ash. July 23rd, a day that'll forever be etched in the state's memory as the beginning of the irreversible. Around 1:15 p.m., on Highway 299 near Whiskeytown Lake, an elderly couple is driving to a vacation. Suddenly, they have a tire blowout. The metal rim of the wheel scrapes against the scorching asphalt. Sparks fly. They land on the dry grass.
So fires start like that? Like, obviously, metal on the floor, it's gonna... But I'm saying, I did not know, like, that's how wildfires start. I thought it was always somebody that just drop a little cigarette butt or something and it just catch fire. This is crazy. So the sparks from the tires is what started this?
The edge of the road. It was the same as dropping a match into a powder keg. When the man realized what had happened, he tried to put it all out. But unfortunately, the wind instantly whipped up the flames.
I don't know how he was going to try to put that out, but shit. Thank you for trying.
That is how the car fire began. But no one could truly imagine what this would lead to. For the first 2 days, the car fire behaved like a typical California wildfire. The flames crept through the steep slopes, brush, and dense forest. The situation seemed completely under control. However, the forest was already turning into a trap. The fire was taking the lives of wild animals caught right in the epicenter. Firefighters were creating containment lines and hoped to stop the fire on the outskirts of populated areas. But nature had a completely different plan.
However, as rapidly as it grew was something that was a little bit different. Until about the second night, it came out of there on us.
On the night of July 25th, as firefighters were trying to contain the flames, the fire made a sudden surge. It broke through the lines and began rapidly approaching the small town of French Gulch. The rescuers' priorities shifted instantly, and they threw all their strength into evacuating people. It was a night of chaos.
You know what's crazy about these things is that a wildfire happened almost every year. Almost every year. We just don't hear about them. Most of them we don't hear about. But they happen damn near every year.
More than 60 houses in the settlement turned to ash. People didn't just lose houses or cars. After disasters like these, many people started dealing with serious mental health struggles, stress, anxiety, constant pressure. And the worst part is, for many, it lasts long after the tragedy itself. I believe mental health is incredibly important, which is why today's sponsor is BetterHelp. One thing I've personally realized is how much easier it is to deal with stress. Organize your thoughts can make a his, and they'll connect you with someone who can text. And more than 6
but I can't do it.
% off your first month of therapy.
Fire was getting out of hand. I mean, it was to the point where you could hardly breathe. The fire was that intense. The heat was that intense.
Police and firefighters managed to get people out literally minutes before the roads became impassable. But the massive fire could not be contained. The monster of flame moved on. On July 26, 5:30 p.m., the unpredictable happens. An eddy attempts to contain the fire fail. A pyrocumulonimbus cloud begins to grow over the epicenter. This is a literal firestorm, capable of generating its own lightning and hurricane-force winds. Even the most experienced meteorologist cannot calculate its behavior. At that moment, near the town of Keswick, 81-year-old firefighter Donald Ray Smith is battling the fire.
I would imagine you can't keep any track of what's going on with this tornado with this tornado fire, because first of all, the wind pressure is too high and hot. Like, bro, getting close to that, you're gonna melt and your equipment's just gonna fry. So I figure that's why they can't, get a good reading on what's going on.
Fire with his bulldozer.
What's the next move?
He's cutting through the top layer of soil to create a final barrier for the flames. The situation is already critical, but Smith continues to work.
Have you ever wanted to see your home from space? With this free satellite Earth Maps tool, you can zoom right down to your...
They got all type of shit now.
Trying to win precious minutes for the evacuation of residents. Suddenly, the wind direction shifts sharply, and Smith is instantly trapped. Due to the thick smoke and communication failures, he never heard the order for an immediate retreat. When rescuers pushed through to that spot, they only found a charred bulldozer. Smith died at his post, trying to save the town of Keswick. But the town was doomed. In a matter...
Shout out to Smith, man. He's a real hero. Because, shit, I was not doing that. Shit, I was going to try to save my family and whoever I could save, but shit, I was not going to sit there and try to put out a forest of fire. I would have probably tried and help though, but once I realized the situation, my main objective would have been to get myself out of here. Me and my whoever, my loved ones and whoever want to tag along. But shout out to Smith though. He's a real hero for that.
Of minutes, almost nothing was left of Keswick. The fire turned the houses into a wasteland of ash and headed toward the main obstacle in its path, the Sacramento River.
Look at this, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's kind of like a wind-nado or tornado, or this is gonna get nothing but worse.
Wind-nado.
And this might even end up...
He means a fire-nado. He meant to say a fire-nado, y'all. He said a wind-nado, a tornado. A wind-nado, a tornado is the same thing. A tornado creates wind. It's a fire-nado, bro. Right? I'm not bugging, right?
Getting into Reading because we're right on the borderline now. There's a lot of people freaking out.
This fire is out of control. If you live near the Sacramento River between Eureka Way and Keswick Dam, start packing now.
Around 7 p.m., the fire reaches the water. Rescuers hoped that the river would become an insurmountable barrier for the fire. However, the firestorm plays by its own rules. Right above the water, something is beginning to take shape that'll change history forever. On the eastern bank, new fires ignite instantly. Firefighters realize the last line of defense has been broken, and now the city of Reading is under direct threat.
That fire has now destroyed 500 structures. It's threatening 5,000 more, and more than 37,000 people have had to evacuate.
Oh my God, everybody's like panicking and going crazy, and everybody's just trying to leave.
Entire neighborhoods west of the city are forced to abandon their homes in a matter of minutes. There was still an hour and a half left until sunset, but the sky was already shrouded in a red darkness from the giant cloud of smoke. While Sheila Campbell's husband is on a bulldozer trying to contain the fire on the front lines, the woman finds herself in the epicenter of the chaos, alone with the children. After a short call from her husband, "You have 5 minutes." She grabs the children and the dogs and runs out into the scorching darkness.
There's so much smoke, all you could just see was red, and it was hot wind with ash and leaves, and it just looked like it was right there.
Sheila manages to leave the area literally moments before the thick smoke completely blinds the road. They're all alive. That evening in Reading, that was the only thing that mattered.
Got lucky.
It was then that the illusion of safety finally shattered. The fire entered the city. The Stanford Hills and Land Park neighborhoods are the first to be hit. Only an hour ago, people were watching the distant smoke, and now they see the fire literally jumping over neighboring fences. Residents try to flee the car but get stuck in massive traffic jams. In a panic, people leave everything behind, even their documents. Power lines are snapping and sparking, and cell service is unstable. The air's so hot that it melts the plastic on the cars.
Just glowing from all directions. I mean, everything I can see is orange right now.
Reading became the epicenter of a true hell. But then, it got even worse. What was bearing down on the city was something no one could have predicted. At 7:10 p.m., the air in the Stanford Hills area becomes anomalous. Due to the differences in temperature and pressure, it begins to rotate. Hot air currents spiral upward, growing faster and taller with every passing second. This is what meteorologists call a large fire whirl. At 7:30 p.m.
So they got a specific name for it. Fire world. Damn. Oh God.
Tile Survive has to be one of the most relaxing and comforting games of 2026. There's no pressure and it's super easy to play. You don't need to stay online all day, and there's no endless grinding either. Just hop in whenever you feel like it. Collect some material.
The situation spirals completely beyond anything rescuers had ever seen before. The fire transforms into a full-scale EF3 fire tornado. The vortex moves southeast through Land Park. Wind speeds inside reach 143 miles per hour. It uproots trees, levels houses, and turns it all into fuel for the vortex. Its next stop is a residential area in the northwest part of the city. At 7:40 p.m., Quartz Hill Road turns into a deadly trap.
Damn, do you know how deadly this shit is, bro? This is why I stay away from nature, bro. Because do you know how deadly this shit is, gang? So basically, whatever it has the wind pop pressure of a real tornado, because it is a real tornado. So it's blowing you away and picking you up. It's breaking up houses. And it's melting whatever it touched. Whatever it touched. That's 2,700 degrees. Whatever it touches, melting, bro. It's melting. And that's why it's so dangerous. And then on top of that, it spreads more fire. What the fuck, gang? I can't be ready for that. There's no way I could be ready for that. I would have to have a underground bunker or something to go to escape this shit. This is like damn near a nuke. The fuck?
This is where the vortex reaches its peak fury. Radars recorded something extraordinary. In just 15 minutes, the fire column doubled in height. At 40,000 feet, it reached the cruising altitude of commercial aircraft. The vortex rose 18,000 feet into the sky. At its base, the funnel spanned the width of 3 football fields. Inside this anomalous giant meat grinder, temperatures hit 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit, well above the melting point of steel. That was exactly when a call came into 911.
911, your emergency.
I'm in a dozer. All the windows got blown out. I got my curtains down. I can't last too long here.
Okay, sir, I need you to get out of there, okay?
I can't. No, I have to have a ride out of here. It's all on fire around me.
Don Andrews.
Damn. So it's so crazy that he has nowhere to go. And he has nowhere to stay. Because if he stay there, he's going to die. But if he leaves, it's nothing but fire outside. Damn, son. I told you, bro. It's no way you could be prepared for this, bro. The only way you could be prepared for this is if you have an underground bunker, or you just know ahead of time, like, yeah, it's going to get this crazy. I'm out of here. But it was no way they could have prepared themselves for this.
Is in the cab of his bulldozer on Buenaventura Boulevard near Land Bart. Due to the incredible pressure, the glass in the cab explodes inward, showering Don's eyes with tiny shards. Blinded and disoriented, he manages to lower the special aluminum fireproof curtains and dials 911.
Dim light, okay?
Sure, a couple of these guys got killed.
What was your first name, sir?
Don.
Don. Okay.
Don't risk anybody's life for mine, but instead of lay down, send somebody for me, please.
Of course I will.
Don Andrews was
Don is
certain
a good
he
nigga.
wouldn't survive. He asked the dispatcher for one last favor.
Can I give you my wife's phone number? Tell her I love her.
Every minute in the scorching cab felt like an eternity. Only an hour later, when the fire vortex finally moved on, were rescuers able to push through the debris to reach Don. What they saw looked like a scene from a horror movie.
Right.
A charred skeleton of a multi-ton machine stood in the middle of a scorched wasteland. But when they opened the cab, Don was alive. He became one of the few people to have been in the very heart of a fire tornado and make it out alive.
Shit.
However, just nearby in that very same neighborhood, the situation was unfolding according to a different script. Around 7:45 p.m., Fire Inspector Jeremy Stoke was helping to evacuate people. When the EF3 fire vortex crossed the path of his pickup, there was no time to maneuver. Winds in excess of 143 miles per hour picked up the inspector's vehicle and carried it away.
Damn.
This dark spot right here, this is where he was found.
Shit.
Unfortunately,
Bro's car was melted into the ground, bro. Look. No fucking way, gang. No fucking way.
3 miles per hour picked up the inspector's vehicle and carried it away. This dark spot right.
Look at his car. It was right here. This dark spot right here. That joint melted, bro. Yo. No way. What? Damn.
Here, this is where he was found. Unfortunately, Jeremy Stoke did not survive. Just nearby in that very same neighborhood, Ed Bledsoe is stuck in a traffic jam at a police cordon when his phone rings. On the other end of the line,
tornado is
his
still
5-year-old
going.
great-grandson, James, is pleading for help.
He's saying, Grandpa, please, you got to come and help us. The fire's at the back door. Come and get us. I said, I'm close by, son. I'm trying to get in there. I said, I'm right by you. I said, I'm right by you, honey. Just hold on. Grandpa's coming.
It was a promise that Ed could not keep. His wife covered their great-grandchildren with wet blankets, trying to become a living shield. But the elements were stronger. Later, rescuers would find the bodies of the 70-year-old woman and the 2 young children beneath the rubble of the house. There was simply no chance of survival. After that, the pillar of fire vanished as suddenly as it had appeared. It raged on the ground for over an hour and a half, carving a path 5 miles long. When everything finally calmed down, scientists were hesitant to draw conclusions, as the findings were nearly impossible to believe. The phenomenon that had just incinerated everything in its path
That took out the
turned
whole
out
city.
to be a fire-nado. And in Reading, it marked the first time such an event had occurred in U.S. history. The air twisted into a vertical pillar of fire with an infernal internal temperature exceeding 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. No firefighting equipment is capable of stopping a vortex of such power. The only thing left for people to do in that moment is to manage to escape. What the tornado left in its wake was only the beginning of a new phase of hell. During the night of July 26th to the 27th, the fire did not stop. Instead, it slowly but surely swallowed block after block. Near midnight, Evacuation orders expanded to the Shasta Dam area, Summit City, and all of western Redding. The city turned into an endless line of headlights as cars tried to break through the smoke screen. By the morning of July 27th, the fire trap loomed over the entire region. The fire headed north and west, forcing residents to the towns of Lewiston and Douglas City to flee. By July 28, the burned area had grown to 80,000 acres. The desperate battle against the fire lasted until August 30th. Firefighters worked for days on end without sleep or rest. While some fought to contain the flames, others carried people out of burning homes.
It didn't matter what patch was on your sleeve. It just, we went out and we did it. And we saved lives that night. We saved lives the next day.
When California's own resources were exhausted, the confrontation took on a global scale. Thousands of specialists from every corner of the United States arrived to help, followed later by firefighters from Australia and New Zealand.
Fire crews battling a fast-moving wildfire in Northern California are reportedly starting to gain some ground. As of Sunday night, firefighters had the so-called car fire 17% contained, up from just 5% earlier in the day.
At the peak of the operation, nearly 5,000 people and hundreds of pieces of heavy equipment were working to contain the fire front. 38 days after the first spark from a faulty wheel fell into the dry grass, the fire apocalypse was finally brought under control. As the smoke cleared, the shocking truth was revealed. The car fire destroyed over 1,600 structures and claimed 8 lives. Total damages exceeded $1.5 billion.
People that lost everything. And
that's not so bad though. 8 lives, that's not so bad. A situation this devastating, I would expect like the numbers to be in the hundreds at least, if not the thousands. So I mean, it took out the whole city, gang. So I would have thought it would have killed a lot more people than that. But they did a good job. That's all that means. That means they did a good job. They did a good job with saving the people. That's all that means. So that's a good thing.
And then the devastation to this neighborhood, which is just amazingly beautiful. And will be again, but it's, it looks like a war zone right now.
Today, scientists say that this anomaly was no accident. The climate is warming, forests are drying out, and the conditions for the birth of such fire monsters are appearing more and more frequently. Therefore, people must get used to a new reality. Redding, meanwhile, has been rebuilt. New homes stand where the Bledsoe neighborhood once was. On the scorched hillsides, young trees are growing back, but residents still remember all the victims of the fire, both civilians and the heroic firefighters. Their memory serves as a reminder that behind every miscalculation and every delay in evacuation stands the highest price one can pay.
Right. And also that how unpredictable nature could be. But I'm glad that the casualty was not too high. My condolences to the people that passed away during this event. And yeah, I mean, my condolences to their family. I'm lost right now because I'm like, wow, a fire tornado. But my condolences to their family and RIP to those that passed away during this event. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, don't stall with evacuation, y'all. When it's time to get up out of there, get up out of there. Shit. You don't want to be dead. You don't want to be dead. Real shit. When it's time to evacuate, evacuate. Don't play with that.